Hello, welcome. My name is Saeri Wilde, and this is my first ceremony report I'm sharing today. And this is a thing. It's just been birthed, and I'm gonna be sharing more of my ceremony reports, and then also my clients are going to be sharing their ceremony reports. So I'm really excited to be sharing it in this way. Um, the way I'm seeing this go is that we each hold something that is connected to a bunch of other people, especially on our fractal. And for me, I know I'm here to support the frequency on this planet rising and lightening up. And the ceremonies that I'm sharing with you today, I already knew that, but they really confronted me with this purpose of mine and this function of who I am. And it was super hard. And I, my senses, my hunches, my desire is that I've done this one for the team, and that in sharing it, you may recognize the work that you've been doing, any shifts you've had around these particular topics, and I hope that you can go through it with more grace than I did. And I do think I think my experience has been grace filled for sure. But yeah, maybe that it doesn't have to be so hard. And then perhaps whatever you do that for, I can glean that as well, and other people on our fractal. So that's the intention and the calling, the invitation from spirit that I received to be sharing my experiences, and it's also me just coming out about who I really am. I've been hiding for a long time. I've been disguising myself for a long time, and that just has served me, and it has not served me. Um, and this breakthrough that I had in these recent ceremonies are it was really an invitation and a calling to just stop messing around, and that I'm ready, and it's safe. It's safe to come out and be who we are. So, yeah, welcome. Thank you, those of you here on the live, and thank you for watching the recording. I'm going to be holding these regularly. I don't know exactly how often, but I'm feeling like 3 weeks a month, perhaps 2 or 3 weeks a month. In these coming weeks, I'm going to be also we have Nova Ohm is here today, and on our live call, and she's going to be doing her ceremony report on September 9th. There she is. And so I'll share with y'all. Actually, I think it's still on my clipboard. It is. So I'm popping that in the chat for those of you here live. You're welcome to, click on that and register for her call. I'll also be sending it out through the other channels, like how you got here today. But if you want to just kind of set that and forget it, and be set up and put in your calendar, she has a really powerful story to share about her ceremonies and clarity journey that she's been going through with me. And she's holding a huge piece for us all. So I'm really grateful for I love you so much. I'm really grateful for the work that you're doing. Thank you. And thank you for your willingness to share it. If you want to say anything, you're welcome to. I don't know. Okay, looks like you do.
Yeah, I was curious if this was a space for that. I feel so grateful for ceremony. Um, I feel so grateful for the ceremonies that I got to experience with you, and I feel so excited to share my experiences with it. So I'm grateful that you have this space that you've created for us to do that. I'm excited to hear other people's ceremony reports also. For me, it's like there's this uh, more digestion that happens through the sharing, you know? Um, and then also to get to impact another person's journey. And it just feels like so many pieces of it are so delicious and magical. So I
Mm,
am excited to be able to do that. So thank you very much. And thanks for plugging the link in here for people.
yeah. Yeah, I'm so excited. Oh, so for the years that I've been a coach and a yoga teacher too, I became a yoga teacher in 2010, and I've professionally been a coach for about 5 years. I have noticed that I started putting it together that I would experience things that my clients were going through, and then I would get on a call with them and I would find out that's what was going on. I was like, "Oh, okay." And so it alerted me to, like, I mean, at the time I would identify it as like if it's mine or not. Um and there is some of that. I mean, this story that I'm sharing is very much about what's mine and what's not mine, and how I interact with that, how I have interacted with it most of my life. But like in the context of this mission of this planet lightening up, and the people who are on the leading edge of that, which I consider my fractal, and those of you here and those of you watching are, you know, all on some, in some way on that leading edge of, supporting this planet in lightening up and the frequency rising, which is, in my opinion, about each of us being who we really are and really bringing what we have and living that and being that. And that's a gift. That is living as a gift, is becoming the gift you are. There's this what is it, a slogan for Inner Glowing Sanctuary, which is the umbrella for our fractal. It's the mystery school, I would say. And I've been, kind of just warming it up as my business, but it's not really my business. It's the home for all of us who are stepping into this work as leaders, as helpers in this process, on the journey to becoming no, I'm starting to quote Matt Kahn now. So maybe I'm doing that quote right now. I love this Matt Kahn quote: on the journey to becoming the me I'm destined to be. If it could have happened any other way, it would have. So yeah, that's funny that I thought I was quoting one thing and I was quoting another. This quote from Matt Kahn, is just so, it encapsulates so much of this work. It has supported me in having the courage to actually shift into alignment. And I use it with my clients all the time. I repeat it, other than like Zoolander quotes. It's one of the few things I know by heart. And because when we go to change, there's a it can be, what I think what it might be the hardest is just how much energy we put into creating what isn't working, that we go to let go of. And it's like, but I invested so much in this, I gave so much time, I really thought that it would work, I really was doing the best that I could. And so in that quote, Matt Kahn really recognizes that, you know yeah, that was perfect. And and it doesn't sign you up for another moment of that. So to really, forgive ourselves, thank ourselves, love ourselves for who we've been, and for our willingness to go through whatever we're going through, to release the past, and not yoke ourselves into the pattern. Yeah, another day, really. And then my approach has been, I'm very gentle with that. I don't try to get rid of patterns. My work in the past 5 years, and especially the last 2 years, has shown me that, the reason we can't get rid of our patterns, our problematic patterns, is because they're protecting something very precious that is very much who we are. And usually that part is a young one. It's a little one. It's you could say, your inner child. And it's the protection has kept it from developing. So it's an underdeveloped, very precious part that's being protected by some very convoluted patterns that work. They work. And so really the only way to allow that part to develop is to um, embrace the pattern, to bring it into the light of day, and then not try to change it. Stop these activities of trying to attack them, trying to cast them out. They just don't work. And and what they actually do is they work to drive those patterns and even to adapt even deeper and to be even harder to get to that precious part in the center that needs to develop. So I think I'm going to start with my first ceremony that was about 3 weeks ago. So I a little bit of background for me. What I'm taught, the ceremonies that I'm sharing about today are with ayahuasca. Um, and also I worked with Cambo and Hape, which is like a tobacco snuff that you blow up your nose, or the shaman blows up your nose. So when I say ceremony report, like with Nova, we're talking about the ceremonies that I've facilitated within my work, which in this case is called Clarity Journey. These today have very much been informed by my own clarity journey, with me doing that same work on myself. And it really ripened me, and then ayahuasca finished me off. And Hape really finished me off, actually. So 11 years ago, I had felt a call to go sit in ayahuasca ceremony. When I first was getting the call, I did not know what it was. I had never heard of ayahuasca. I was thinking of mushrooms, maybe, and like that I could do that in a ceremonial setting, like have a facilitator. It has never worked for me to do drugs recreationally. In human design, I have this channel, the 2551 is the channel of initiation. It's the channel of the shaman, the priest, the priestess. And that's my understanding of why I haven't been able to really do recreational drugs, and why I really didn't try anything until much, much later than most people I knew, is that I was already tripping. So I have a very mystical existence. My experience of life is very mystical already. And when I add the medicines to it, the medicines really call me into integrity um with who they are, what they are, to really respect who I am, respect what I'm carrying, my medicine as a being, and also others, and the unique paths we're on. um so I might just kind of skip around. I'm kind of a weaver in the way I in the way I tell stories, so we'll see how this goes. I'm going to try to not like limit myself to being super linear, because like right now what I want to say is I just want to give you kind of like a spoiler alert, I guess, or like a just like a preview into like what I discovered, is that like and I knew this already. But and this is from this ceremony that I was just in over the weekend, is like I'm a bullshit detector. And I think there's probably like there's a higher way to recognize what that is, but like the way I understand it right now is it's like a mode. It's a mode of who I am and my spirit for where I am and where we are as humanity in this process of everybody becoming themselves. Freaking finally. Like that seems like such a tall order to me, and that I mean, I literally like what I've been confronted with is that my purpose is literally for every single person on this planet to be who they are. And, so um I got to purge out all the stuff that said that can't, that's impossible, that's too tall of an order, that's not fair. And, on a linear mental level, it makes no sense. But when I flip it, when I just like flip it right over, I'm like, why not? Like, why is that such a tall order? Why do we think that's impossible? I mean, I don't know. For me, the other thing that I've really been just like I was extremely confronted with in the previous ceremony that I just did was like I don't give up on anybody. And I've wished that I could because of this condition pattern, because of this, um, critical mass collective belief that we couldn't possibly all be who we really are and be living in that expression and be creating from there and relating with one another from that place. And then back to the bullshit detector, my spirit's just like bullshit. That's bullshit. So so yeah, 11 years ago I did 11 ceremonies 11 years ago um with ayahuasca. I initially didn't even know what it was. I was invited into it quite properly for my human design, which I wasn't into yet. It would be a few years yet until I came to human design. And I'm 7.5 years, by the way, in my human design experiment. So this is quite a fruitful year for me, having my initial 7 years of deconditioning, which I engaged with very, very intensely and experimentally. But yeah, so just briefly, I want to speak to my experience initially with ayahuasca, which was that um, yeah, for as correct, I think I was correctly invited into it initially for like I would say the first weekend, which I sat in 2 ceremonies. And then beyond that, on the journey to becoming the me I'm destined to be, to be, if it could have happened any other way, it would have. And I don't think there's another timeline where I didn't go and continue with that group I was sitting with for the other 9 ceremonies from there. There was a way I was looping in a lot of ways. Um, and I learned a lot, so I can't regret it. But by the time that I was invited to leave, which I was, I I had a lot of respect for the medicine. I had a lot of respect for myself, uh, for like who I enroll to support me. And so I also had made an agreement with my body that I would approach the releases that I needed, that ayahuasca was showing me, in more gentle ways at the time. Um, there's a cue that I would say when I taught yoga full time is, don't traumatize yourself with your trauma release. That's what I was doing with ayahuasca, is I was traumatizing myself with my trauma release. My nervous system was in such a place that I just really, I didn't have the tools, and I didn't have the support, and I didn't have the recognition to be just like ripping those duct tape band-aids off. And I did, and I was built for it, and here I am. So there's always that paradox there. But this is like a huge passion for me in this work and in sharing this work and in what I do with my clients, is that, I what I see is that we have a quantum opportunity when we've gone through something like, oh, okay, that maybe wasn't the best way to approach ayahuasca. um, to then share that, and then other people don't have to go through the same experience to receive that alignment and that understanding of how to interact. We are coming from a deficit of elders. This is another thing that I'm really passionate about in my work, is like we are the elders of the future. It is to restore eldership and like connect with what that is for us. And for me, and the fractal that I represent, it is, that's resonant with me. It is that an elder wants, for the younger who they are, and that's it. And any stories that they tell are only to support and empower that other, not to tell them what to do, um, not to enable them in any way. So, one of the main things that I came to recognize about the way that I was doing ceremony initially is that I was in a very large group, and I was very empathic. And when I walked into Berkeley Psychic Institute years prior, they called me an out of control healer. So, and that's exactly what happened when I got into these group ceremonies, and they were large group ceremonies, are like 20, 30 people, is that, for one thing, my hands would get really activated, just like, they're just like buzzing and vibrating with light. And I would be like, what do I do with these? And at the time, I was having this whole thing, okay, I'm a healer. And I could literally see people's stuff coming at me across the room, and I'd be like, here. And I would purge for people. Um, I almost died a couple times. In fact, the last ceremony that I did in that era, I was gonna sit for 3 ceremonies in a row for the first time, and I left after that first one. Um, so that's another story. I'm not gonna get into that today, but whew, yeah, it was because I had zero boundaries. I have had zero sense of myself and the other. And I was just, I'm in human design, I'm a heretic, I'm a savior, and I was just trying to help everybody. And the way that the conditioning is that I get help after everybody else is helped. So I'm gonna heal, and I'll say just my mother primarily, like she was like the ultimate. That was, the beginning of this pattern for me, was like, I'm gonna heal her. When she feels better and she's okay, then I'll feel okay. Well, there's a lot of truth to that, especially as a baby and a child, growing up, that with a mother who didn't have the kind of support that she needed, um, and coming in as a projector, as a guide, but like in a baby form. Yeah, like that's a conundrum. Like, you can only do so much for your parents. And like having the 2551, as I mentioned earlier, that channel of initiation, well, people go through initiations in my presence. That channel, for me, the way I experience it, is that it is uncompromising, in that it is trying to get into my body and occupy my body and boot everything else out, all foreign bodies. And it has that effect on other people too. So this has been like what I have developed professionally, is that I is the awareness of that mechanism, and then I support to guide people into receiving who they are, and like saying, yeah, this is normal. You might feel nauseous, you may feel exhausted, and just keep going. But back then I wasn't empowered in that. I didn't understand what was happening, and so I would try to relieve people of those, um I don't know, I guess some people call them ascension symptoms, or I would say like they're it's the detox that happens when you start to come into your body and you haven't been in your body for a long time, or not consistently for a long time. So you have this little baby coming in with this channel that is like a lightning seed of spirit for the other and myself as well. And that can feel really, really scary, to have that detox happening, especially after you just had a baby. You're postpartum, you're new parents, they're very young. So, anyway, there's some background I didn't know I was going to share, but I really had no idea all that I'm going to share on here. So, um, I'm gonna jump forward to like the major initiation that I started to go through when I met my daughter's father, when I was calling in my daughter, which was that that was the wildfire season. Um, and in fact, White Wolf has named me Wildfire. So I'm still navigating that with like changing the wild, and that's a whole other story about my name, because that is not my given name, but that's, one that I've navigated. Saeri Wilde is one that I've navigated through, these initiations I've been going through, and a command from my bossy gangster spirit to change my name some years ago, some years back. But there is this quality of, I mean, it was very literal. I was being guided by wildfire. And that's how I came to where I am right now in Humboldt County. This has been a sanctuary for me. And I've gotten a reprieve from the wildfires. They're still going on, but the smoke barely even makes it over here to where we are behind the redwood curtain. We're very protected here with the ocean. And so I met White Wolf about a year ago, and I had heard of this medicine combo. Actually, Nova had something to do with that because she was talking about her experience with combo. It's a frog poison that from the jungle. He and it goes into your system by you get these burns on your body, and then they put the medicine on there. It's very short. It's like, I mean, the longest that Wolf does it is his Kambo ceremonies with the medicine on your body is just 40 minutes. And um and I was really drawn to Kambo because um I wanted to return. I could feel ayahuasca. I've had a relationship with her this whole time. And if you're not familiar with ayahuasca, you'll hear, just to let you know, like you'll hear people refer to the spirit of the plant as a her, as grandmother. You might hear people call her grandmother medicine. Um, and yeah, so anyway, Cambo purges you. It just like patrols your system. It's not a psychedelic. Um, it just like goes and bounces anything that's not supposed to be in your body, basically. And they call it the vaccine of the jungle. White Wolf says no, it's not called a vaccine; it's called the vaccine. So it can help with all kinds of different things, and of course, like these are not meant to be medical claims. My personal experience is that I throw up and I sweat like crazy and and cry. And in the last one that I did before my first ayahuasca ceremony back, that was a one-on-one with White Wolf, was I found I was purging exhaustion, which was like so interesting. I mean, I also puked and sweated and all that, but I was just so impossibly tired, and I was like, oh, I don't even know what that is to purge exhaustion, because I always think of it as like a deficit of something, right? But it's like it had gotten to the point in my system that it was actually a thing. It was a thing in my system for me to purge. So when I found White Wolf and I started working with him in Cambo, I and I knew that he works with ayahuasca as well. But I knew I wasn't ready, and I really had to get to know him better and make sure that this time I was sitting with somebody who recognized me, and that I could do the work I'm here to do, and who would tell me the truth and also hold a really strong container for me. I need a really, I mean, I thought that I wanted to return into a female-led ceremony, because the ceremonies I was in before felt like they were really out of balance, and like the alien energy and the masculine energy, competitive energy was just like really over the top in some of the ceremonies we were in. But as I've engaged with, you know, masculine feminine polarity and experimenting with that in my own life, I started to realize like I do need a teacher who's very masculine and holds a really strong container. And so I've taken this time in working with White Wolf with Cambo to get to know him, and you know, then have the talks about the return to ayahuasca. And my you know, my guidance was to have it just be a personal ceremony, just the two of us, and I'm so glad I did that. So as I embarked on that trip, he lives up in Ashland, which is 4 hours north of me. And Nova also lives in Ashland, and I was going to be, you know, giving her a hug while I was there, and, you know, rendezvousing with her. Actually, I think that was the first time we met. Was it? Yeah, I think it was. No, it was
Yeah.
my first.
The first time in flesh was your first, yeah, it was the Kempo ceremony.
Oh, my
Because
camo.
I
Oh,
just come back from Mexico.
okay, I keep forgetting that I did that. So I actually did I went up there for a one-on-one ceremony with him with a process he calls Rising Star, which is this multi-modality like energy work. Um and we also did Cambo. So we did Cambo in the morning, and then we did the energy work ceremony in the evening, like we would have with ayahuasca, but without the medicine, which was really important for me. So that was the first time I met Nova. So, but when I went for my first ayahuasca ceremony, my one-on-one with him, that was just about 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks ago. Now, I get a call from Nova that like they're on standby to evacuate for a wildfire. And I was like, of course. Like, I leave my bubble and I'm driving straight into another fire. And, you know, I've learned a lot about my spirit at this point. And so I wasn't freaking out. I have a lot of experience. But, you know, like I was like, okay, like, because I kept questioning my alignment, my intentions. Is this ego? Like, what am I doing here? You know? Is this right? You know, am I supposed to work with this medicine? Do I need to work with this medicine? And because it also came with a call to be a facilitator. And as my first ceremony was approaching, I told White Wolf, like, I really don't know. And I had a call with him where I was like, I'm, you know, I was just like in a space of like, maybe this is my ego, you know, because I was like kind of like trying to like feeling like I wanted to connect with people, to like start, you know, getting some ceremonies together that I would host, that White Wolf would lead and facilitate, of course. And then it just started feeling really weird, and I was feeling doubtful and feeling scared, you know, of like, wait, what am I really doing here? Why am I doing this? And so I brought this to White Wolf, and, you know, just like courageously questioning my own motives. And he was like, he just really simply said, like, I just assume that all the stuff we're talking about doing with you is like because you're guided. I was like, yep. Okay. So anyway, I'm coming into this, and there's a fire apparently, and you know, as I get, and White Wolf's not worried about it. He's like, there's no way this is going to burn. It also turned out that the people that informed Nova about this have wildfire PTSD, which I totally get. So they're just like, ah, like your nervous system gets so just like you start packing. Like if a match is lit, you know, somebody's barbecuing and you're just like, okay, do I have my go bag ready? Um, so, but it was smoky. It was very smoky when I got there, you know, which like triggers certain things in me, which I've been working with for years. I mean, like the year that I moved here, or like a year after I moved here, I there was a fire out on the peninsula, so it's like surrounded by water. I didn't know that's what it was, but the smoke was to the level like it had been with those wildfires, and I totally started, you know, freaking out and thinking that we were going to be on the run again. Um so So my experience as I was coming into town, and we were gonna let's see, I stayed the night that night, and then our ceremonies were the next day. We did Cambo and we did ayahuasca in the evening. Um, but I was just, there was this heaviness with me about it, that like, yeah, just having that doubt, or is this some kind of sign? Am I out of alignment again? Because the way I experienced wildfire before was that I like I was so out of touch with my like the precision of my own guidance that wildfire had to show me. Like it was like if there hadn't been a fire there, I would have gone there, but I couldn't go there because there was a fire there. Like I have felt personally responsible for all these California wildfires, and I had ties with pretty much all of them. I mean, it was getting bizarre. Like I went down to Malibu when I was pregnant with my daughter for my coach's transformational beach party called Into the Fire. And a couple weeks later Malibu was on fire. So at one point I was talking to Gary Mahler, my coach at the time, and he lives in Canada, and he was living in this high rise in Vancouver, um and he's like, "Oh, there's a fire down there." And I was just like, "Gary, can we call it Into the Bubbles instead of Into the Fire? Like, I can't take any more of this fire." And yet I did quite a few more fires. Um so I was just feeling very cautious about that. I was listening really closely. I really did not want to like push life to give me that strong of feedback again. And um so yeah, now I'm going to talk about my first ayahuasca ceremony, back, the one about 3 weeks ago. I was really just, I had so many prayers for just gentleness. Um, it had been just so rough on me before. I had been rough on me before. And that's also how I have experienced myself as, like this 2551 especially is just like, you heard me say a little bit ago, like my bossy gangster spirit. Like that's how it feels. Like it just gets really bossy. And when I'm not in touch with the nuances of my guidance, that's how it gets to be bossy gangster spirit. And that's how, it gets to the point where I'm being guided by wildfire and these extreme happenings in my life, like um, being pregnant, and then all of a sudden called to leave my daughter's father, and then my mother's against me, and nobody's with me. Like these really extreme things, that those were my medicine, like the things that I was discovering, and the intuition that was being restored through those, it just horrifying at the time circumstances. um it was exactly what I needed for how numb I was. So I had asked White Wolf if I could have like for my first cup of ayahuasca, the smallest he was willing to give me, and the smallest he was willing to give me was half of a cup. And I had like we'd been praying for hours and talking for hours and setting intentions for hours. And I had my Cambo ceremony earlier in the day, and we had done the same thing with Cambo. Um, and so now the medicine's in my hand. He hands me the cup. He's blessed it, and I'm just like, one more thing. One more thing. One more request I have for you, Mother Medicine, Grandmother, is um, please know when enough is enough for me, and show me. And this is, I think everybody, well, most people watching this will know that that's a not self theme, not knowing when enough is enough, of a non-sacral being, which I am. Non-sacrals are projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. So, and I saw that immensely in play with why I did 11 ceremonies instead of 2, 11 years ago. and how I would also just go so far be off my own path that I would have to have this really strong feedback from the medicine or from my spirit and life in general, from fire itself. So I say this prayer, please know when enough is enough for me and show me. I drink it down, and then I almost immediately throw up just the cracker paste from after Cambo you can eat like you're hungry usually, and White Wolf serves these Mary's Gone crackers, these like raw, seed crackers or whatever. And I had really wanted another half of an avocado, but there wasn't another one, and so I was like, well, I'll just eat these crackers. Well, my body had digested everything except for those crackers, and they were just sitting in my stomach in this paste. And so she immediately showed me that you didn't know when enough was enough with that. I'm showing you, so I was like, bleh. And I was also really happy to throw up the medicine because I wanted to have like a microdose experience, and White Wolf was just had said no, and thankfully he did. And a lot of my story here is has to do with White Wolf saying no to me. That I'm so grateful for him that I took the time to really develop this relationship with him, so I can really trust his no at as a space holder and as a man. um so I did get my microdose experience. He was really surprised that I had any kind of experience at all because I did throw up the medicine immediately, but I did, and that was gentle. And then I was ready, and I did another half of a cup. Oh, actually, this is what I want to skip back to. So I threw up, and then he had said, it's good to sit upright, and we're gonna sit and meditate. And then when I start making noise, you can lay down, because that was like my number one goal. I was like, I just want to lay down. I was like, please, 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 can I have one of those sleeping ayahuasca journeys? I've heard of those. And, a huge theme for me in the past had been that I was just like so tired, just impossibly tired and couldn't sleep. And so, I was really praying for that, and he knew that I was gonna want to lie down. I had like this whole nest set up for myself, so I'd be like, my spine would be perfectly supported, and I could just like let go and hopefully sleep. So he was like, but I want you to, you sit up, and then when I start making noise, you can lie down. And that was really hard. I felt really, really tired sitting up for that portion. And then he finally started making noise, and like, I don't remember his drum and singing and stuff. And so I laid down and I snuggled in. And right when I was like, oh, it started raining. And I felt, like all my doubts about my intentions and my alignment were just like literally washed away. It had been extremely hot and had been very hot for Ashland. And the air was super smoky, and so it was like we were in the upstairs of his house, which is an old house, and he's caves environment. I had to look it up, and I'm like, I knew it, because his ceremony room is totally like a cave. But it was super hot. It was like sweat lodge hot up there and smoky. So that rain was just, it was just like, yeah, such a confirmation for me that my stories about the fires, and my spirit being bossy, and my experience having to be harsh, that like I could, and also the validation of the strength of my prayers, and my intentions, that I was like so intentional. um I All of my prayers were answered in that ceremony, all of them. And the rain was just so real, and I was just like, I know I'm a wizard. I actually, like, in my second ever ayahuasca ceremony, in that first weekend, um my star team would, thank you, Nova, thank you for showing your beautiful face. um my star team would give me a gift about myself, and then I would have to purge because it would light up everything in my body that wasn't it. And one of the gifts that I was given was I was actually taken through, on the etheric plane, I was taken through a ceremony to be ordained as a wizard. And they were like, and now you're a wizard. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? And I've had, that's come up many times, like in different readings and such, and reflections and recognitions I've gotten over the years of being an alchemist, in a past life, having been like a master alchemist and stuff. And I just learned to relax around the definition of that. And but like I was like, I am. Like, this works, like I work. This makes sense. I'm not a crazy person, and I trained in wildfire, and this is how, White Wolf came to name me Wildfire, say like, I think your name is Wildfire. It's like, oh yeah, that's me. And when I receive that as my being, then it's relieved, my environment is relieved of it. And I'd said during that ceremony, like, oh, like the wildfire season's over. And the next morning when Wolf and I were going to get juice in his Jeep, I was like, now I just want to like say, I don't really know how that's playing out, or if that's for me or what. Like, I don't want to like make this big declaration that there's not going to be any more wildfires. But like, I really feel that, you know, there's something that I've alchemized in reclaiming that, or maybe just claiming. I mean, it's the first time really in this lifetime that I had embarked on claiming it to this degree, claiming that essence of myself as like, what is the medicine of wildfire? Like, if you don't, receive this into your body as your being, like, you're responsible for all these things catching on fire. But at the same time, like, which I saw very early on with the wildfires, was like I saw the medicine of them. Like, I was in Santa Rosa when I actually moved into that first Sonoma County fire that was just insane. Like, like nobody had ever seen a fire like that before. Like, it was in town. It was so bizarre, and some things wouldn't burn. Just like there'd be like one tree standing around all these other trees, just green, not touched at all by the fire. This house in a whole neighborhood was still standing, didn't burn at all. No reason for it. It's not that one was any more protected than the other. And I was just really seeing that, yeah, like a lot of this bullshit that we've been tolerating, and these are our blind spots. These are the places where we've been numbing, the places where we're like only telling half the truth. They were burning. There was a lot of fodder, a lot of fodder built up. So yeah, the healing that I received in that second cup then, so I'm jumping forward to my second cup, was, and I'll tell you, like, my intention, my desire going into that was I really wanted this clarity about my, my husband, basically, like this man that I felt I had been promised when I received my mission back in 2016, and I was given this mission to start a mystery school, and that was going to catalyze everybody in the world becoming themselves. And I had this role, or this like assignment I was given to, help the leaders of this school come up to speed with who they are. And I was shown that there was a man who would be holding the masculine anchor of this, like as a pillar, and the other leaders were also pillars. And so I mistook many a man for that along the way, which is, how my daughter came through on that portal. And I was just at a point coming into this ceremony where I was like, was that just a carrot to get me to do what I need to do that I wouldn't have done otherwise? Or is it real? Like, do I get to have this support in my life? You know, do I get to have this divine equivalent, this complement to this work that I'm doing, or do I continue to do it alone and with my colleagues? You know, so I was laying down, of course, and the medicine was digesting well for me, and like I didn't have any purging actually after that first just cracker paste. And um you know, I've done a lot of energy work. I went to psychic school, as I've mentioned, and Reiki. And so I was allowing my hand to give myself these healings. And it was like I was just kind of observing it, like I was letting it do it. And like, not like I was doing it, but, and it was kind of like tapping these different things on the right side of my body. And then it was like kind of like pulling, like trying to pull something out. And then I saw, oh my gosh, like this masculine spirit, this equivalent I've been asking for, and that I thought that I was promised or that I need or whatever, was literally in my body. And I don't mean in this concept of like my masculine side and my feminine side. I mean like that spirit was literally in me. It was not mine. It was related to mine as like in my soul family or whatever. It was my equivalent, but not mine. And so at first I was like, oh, and I felt this, you know, this just like courage to, and boldness to be like, okay, I'm going to remove it. I'm going to release him. And, you know, I've had this experience with men in the past that when they start to like fall in love with me, they seem to have this like the way I was seeing it was like, oh, their higher self would rush into their body. It could feel like possession. They weren't ready for it. They would get fried, is what I would say. And this picture that I was getting was like, yes, but it's because you've literally shackled him to you. And you've been packing him in the right side of your body. And this is also can be seen in like the different ways I've had injuries in my body and like postural things and that kind of thing. So it's like he was shackled to me. I would see a good candidate or one that I liked, and I would be like, okay, I'll let your chain out a little bit, you know? It was very controlling, very manipulative. And so when I was like, oh, well, okay, I just have to remove him, I was like suddenly aware that I was surrounded by all the grandmothers in my ancestry. And my ancestry is not much of Earth. There were many Earth grandmothers, but this is like, you know, my star ancestors. And they were like, oh, no, 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 no. That is not for you to do. This needs to be taken from you. And all you have to do is let go. And so I had a very lucid experience with this healing I received, of this, you know, there were many different spirits there, beings, not in bodies, removing him from my body. The men were doing that. That was the men's work. The grandmothers were just talking to me and telling me jokes, and you know, like a birth attendant, really. And then, you know, saying true things to me that, you know, in the past it would have been hard for me to receive. There were lots of tears and such beauty, such beautiful tears. And my hands got activated like they had in past ceremonies. But this time I was laying down and my hands were on my womb, and I was like, oh, and I was actually receiving that for myself. Um, so, and then, you know, what I was looking at when White Wolf and I were, you know, doing some integrative work in the morning, he'd asked me what I, you know, if like what the answer was that I got about like, do I get to have this husband or whatever? And I was like, I got an answer, but it wasn't in the way I asked it. which made him, shaman laugh. I love the shaman sense of humor. and and what I saw was I mean, and so much counsel from the grandmothers, like, none of this is any of your business. It's not your business. You're not, um, the men aren't, they don't need your help. Stop trying to help them. It's none of your business. It's none of your business if he incarnates in a man's body, if he finds you again. It's not. All that your job is just to be, and I got, this really clearly, like, you're just here to be embodied in your emanation. And that's all. I mean, it's not that I don't do things, but nothing comes before my radiance, my emanation of who I am. And I can't do that when I'm packing a man's spirit in my body, in my feminine body. Like, I mean, that was very clear. This is extremely toxic and taxing on my system. I'm not meant to run this frequency. And it's really rooted in this writing I did. It was part of the leading up to the, these ceremonies that I've said I felt were priming me, priming my understanding. This understanding of masculine sensitivity and feminine pain body. When a feminine essence person is protecting themselves, they don't feel safe. The rightful order is for the masculine essence to be the protector. And so, like, when you have a mother who doesn't feel safe and she is protecting herself, her children are left vulnerable. Her children are not protected. She's not able to offer the rightful protection she's supposed to be offering them. Which is like guiding them to be who they are, nourishing them to be who they are. And the moment she starts protecting herself, she's putting her children in a position to also protect her. And this is how I came to pack the masculine spirit of my equivalent around. It's like, and there's not blame. There's not blame here. It's understandable, why my mother did this and why she literally trained me to do this. And, on the journey to becoming the me I'm destined to be, if it could have happened any other way, it would have. It happened this way with who I am for a reason, because I am not one who can sustain that. I cannot. I'm surprised I made it to 43. I've had many near-death experiences. I've hit rock bottom many times. I've had this opportunity to see this, but it was like in the capacity of my understanding, like I could only get so far with it. So these ceremonies have been, just like giving it to me straight in a way that my mind can understand, so I can stop fighting against it. My daughter, becoming a mother has been a big part of that, where I just haven't had it to manage the bullshit that I used to manage. I've, I almost died last year in February from this man I was involved with, who is also this kind of great wildfire medicine for me. And when I finally got to the ER, which took me a couple weeks, I actually had another 2551 friend just like randomly be in town and be like, you need to go to the doctor. you know. Um, I was really confronted with, I'm not leaving my daughter here. Absolutely not. And so, I really started to like even more engage with the stability of my actual life. And was quite isolated. And COVID was part of that medicine as well. I think we all have experienced that space that it created for us, from things that we couldn't help but engage with previously. So yeah, and then the way I view my husband, my cosmic husband embodied, is like, I know, and I've known this, but just the cellular level that I get it now, and how clearly my mind has been able to see it, that if I am this emanation of myself with purity, with skill, which I've been building all these years, this capacity for myself, he can't help but show up. He can't help it. And it's none of my business. So I want to talk about the second ceremony that I just did, before the hour and a half mark. There are so many stories within each of these ceremonies that I like I said, I intend to have more of these calls and share other parts, and engage some other people in their experiences too. Like, I'm here to commune with you. I'm not here to just like share. This call is like the foundational one, and so I don't know that we'll have much time to like connect, and I'm sure people aren't really prepared for that today anyway. But I do want to say, like, this is an invitation into the inquiry of like how you're seeing these themes play out in your life, what the work is that you're engaging with, and also what piece may you be holding for all of us. That the fires that you're going through, that maybe you're getting ready to share. And and I'm here to support that in various ways. So just to let you know, like, my door is open. You can reach out to me, and you don't have to know. You don't have to know like when or how or what or any of that. We just You can just start with the knowing that something's happening, and it might have something to do with me. And it might have some, not that it has something to do with me, but that I may be part of that journey for you. So going into the second ceremony, now this was a group ceremony, and it's funny because I hadn't been as much in touch with that. And I thought, I wasn't sure if I was going to go to this ceremony. I initially had planned to do it. And then as it approached, I was like, I just have to get through my first one, because I really can't plan for this. I don't know. And I got through my first one. And then about a weekend, I was like, there was 2 weeks between them. I started to feel it. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I'm feeling a yes. And I didn't know how. I didn't know how I was going to do it, financially. I didn't know if my daughter's father was going to cooperate and be up for another, taking my daughter an extra day again. Um, I didn't know, but I could feel my yes. And I've walked with this many times in the coaches that I've hired. And so I know to just like stay trained on my yes, and then surrender that it's none of my business if it actually happens or not. Like, this is part of my process, having this yes. And I can hold the desire to do it, and without being attached to the outcome. of what that looks like, which is like how the answer to that request in the first ceremony about like, do I get to have this husband? It's like my answer was, it's none of your business. But here's what you need to do in order to have that, and it's none of your business. So I was engaged in that. So in that way, like it was a little bit of a surprise. Like I ended up feeling like I was kind of like going by the seat of my pants a little bit, heading up there, but everything aligned. And not, when I say everything aligned, it's not that like it just happened and I'm like, oh, thank you, universe. Like I was engaging in conversations with my daughter's father about it. We had to negotiate some things so that it felt fair for him. Um, and I also had a client coming out who was perhaps going to be sitting with me. And so we resurrected that conversation a little bit. And there were just like all these moving parts. And I was just like checking in with each of them. In addition to, financially, at the same time, I had a consultation with a couple that are coaches for Divine Union that I was feeling I might want to work with, and they gave me a great offer that if I had put down a deposit, um that I would get $1,000 off when I start in October. So I was like, oh gosh, like that doubled up right there. And I was just really holding the desire that I wanted to do it all. I had yeses to like all of this stuff, and I didn't know how it was going to work out. I will say that I did. Part of that process was that I asked my dad if I could borrow $500 and pay him back in a week. and and then, as I was waiting for his response, I was feeling into, like this work I do with money and with raising funds for things and engaging with the masculine and engaging with money as masculine. I was like, oh, I wonder if like maybe I'll ask my dad, if he would gift me the money for, the remainder of this coaching. And I was just feeling into how yummy that would feel, if he gifted me that money, even though like I very well, I have plenty coming in, I probably, will be just fine. But just like the energetics of that, of my dad gifting me this money to heal and restore my essence, my feminine essence, so that I can finally have a husband. And so my dad gifted me that $500. So I that was really wonderful. That was a really sweet surprise in the process of engaging with that. Um, and so I ended up having extra that that I had than I thought I would have, going into ceremony and being able to put down the deposit for these coaches. Um, so let's see. Yeah, I want to kind of lay out the basic experience. There's so much. This could be such a long story. Um, I was coming into this ceremony with, I almost wasn't even sure what my intention was. So that felt really strange to me in comparison to my first ceremony back. Was like, just I was so clear, I was so specific, I had so many prayers, I did so much preparation for that one. And in a lot of ways that was for the second ceremony as well, this first group ceremony back. What I started to become clear was my intention. It was just so simple in a way. And there was so much mystery around it. I was feeling such ease going into this ceremony. I was feeling very confident, and so that was a very different experience than my first one back. But like, it was just like, I want to complete this stuff. And I wasn't doing Cambo before for this one. They had done the Cambo. This was a retreat, and I was coming in on the second day. On the first day, they did Cambo, and then they did ayahuasca. So they weren't offering Cambo on the second day. That was a little bit. I don't know. It was not my preference. I would have preferred to have done Cambo to like clear whatever I could out of my system, because I really just want to have like these communing experiences with the medicine that like there's a way I don't even understand how people get to just like have these nice journeys. And I think these are people who were able to do drugs recreationally, when they were younger. I just never have been able to. And then even when I'm in ceremony, it's like, yeah, I have my visions and I have my insights and stuff, but like I don't know, like I just don't feel like I get to have fun. And so my first cup, I asked for a half of a cup, and in that cup the medicine was just showing me that she was working with me with my edge of boredom and the mundane. I mean, I was just sitting there like nothing really exciting's happening, I'm fine. And I was quite grateful for that actually, because I didn't want, to have one of these extreme experiences that I ended up having. Um so I think it was like I was getting some rest, I was getting some validation with the gentleness prayer. It was giving me some confidence to then ask for a full cup. So I get a full cup, my second cup, and yeah, so the medicine's starting to come on, and White Wolf plays different. He has these playlists of different ceremonial music. He sometimes sings and plays flute as well, but this is part of the way that he works that he feels really strongly about, because the medicine is like he's basically tending the container, and grandmother will ask him to play different songs on his playlist. So this song comes up that's very much sounds like a ayahuasca song, and I'm just like, this is disgusting. like like I hate the song. Like I can't stand it. And then I'm reflecting on that. I'm like, what is that? Like I actually don't have any objections to the voices, to the instrumentation, to the rhythm, but something about it I'm just like, ugh. Ugh, I hate that. It's like there's like some bullshit in there. Like the man's voice, there's a man and a woman, and the man's voice was like muffled, like this, and that just felt like such bullshit to me. And then I realized, oh, it's lighting up the bullshit inside of me, and and I could see it dancing to the music, just like, oh, we love this song, we can't help but move around, and then I can see it. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to puke this up. And so I get onto my hands and knees with my preferred position with my bucket on my bed. And then White Wolf goes, special, because that's the name ayahuasca gave me in my second ceremony ever. Um, special. And I look at him and I was like, and I could just tell when I looked at him, like, oh, I'm so in it right now. And he's like, don't throw up the medicine. If you can help it, don't throw up the medicine. And I was like, it's not the medicine I want to throw up, but that might be what happens. And he's like, I hear you. And then some other people were talking about that, and then I started puking it up, which that shaman humor comes in. They're like, ah ha ha, I guess talking about it. Don't say don't. And this is where this character that I've been calling my bitter old crone came up. And she's also why I haven't had any fun, very much fun, with substances in the past, because um she's this ancient part of me that is like has very, very valid complaints about Earth and humanity. And she's basically like, you asked me to come here, I came here, and now you're all fucking around. Like, what? What do you want from me? And like, I'll get this, like, this side of my face lifts. She's ugly. She doesn't give a fuck. So bitter old crone is up, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, she's here. And she's just like, bullshit, 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 bullshit. And she's confronting me with this thing, like I shared in the beginning, that, I'm a bullshit detector. At least that's the mode. There may be a higher expression of it once we get to graduate from this phase, but right now, she was just showing me like how intolerant I am of anything other than the truth and reality. And so I asked for White Wolf's counsel. I was feeling pretty sorry for myself with this. It just felt impossible. I was like, I'm a bullshit detector. And he was like, yeah, you know, I know. And it's a beautiful gift. It's a beautiful gift that you are. And I was just like, I don't want it. I don't like it. I don't want this job. How am I supposed to just like walk through a day if I'm calling out every single piece of bullshit, and I see like how toxic this has been for me, what I have tolerated and what I've tried to tolerate, just because I think I have to have like any semblance of a normal life. And he was like, and I said, and how I've lied to people by not telling them that I know that there's bullshit present. I'm like, how do I even do this? How do I be this? And he looks at me and is like, you have to be, yeah, you got to be direct. And I was like, I would just say to someone like, you're really amazing, wonderful, and you've got some bullshit. And he was like, we'll work on the delivery. And the irony was just striking me so deeply because this is actually what I do professionally. I'm very good at it. But like it's how meticulous it is when I talk about walking like this all the time in my life. So anyway, it was coming time for the third cup, and White Wolf had mentioned something that oh, and by the way, I was just grieving so hardcore to the point where I was like about this bullshit detector thing, that I was like, I'm going to remove myself for a while because I want to just freaking let loose this grief. And I'm just like, I don't want to deal with bothering other people. Like I could feel myself holding back. And I was already like a huge spectacle. And so I let them know, and I went outside. And then once I stepped outside, I was just calm. So I think some of that might be the, emotional. I'm not emotional in human design. And so I stepped out of the group field and then I was done. But I think that the group field did help me move some legitimate things I needed to move. So I'm not going to go into my whole outside experience. That was really beautiful. But so White Wolf had said, and he said this in my first ceremony too, the one-on-one, that he facilitates working with hape, this tobacco snuff, during ayahuasca, which is a very different experience than when you just do it by yourself or by itself outside of ayahuasca. Same thing with Cambo. It's very, very different when you do it with Cambo than when you just are doing hape alone. But and he calls it the hape experience, and it's basically that you come up to the altar if you have something that's stuck, you know, or if the medicine's too strong for you and you want to bring it down, or the medicine's not strong enough and you want to bring it up. Like it'll do both of those things. Or if you're feeling stuck, then that's, hape can help with that, and to just be poised for if you felt like you're in that zone. So when the third cup came around, I was like, I went up to, in the call to receive the third cup, and I said, I don't know if it's a third cup or if it's hape that's right for me right now. And I asked him if, he said, well, what do you feel like you need, or what do you want? And I said, well, I just want to be finished off. I said, do you think that hape would finish me off? And he was like, oh, definitely. So he finished serving everybody else. And then he called me up for the hape experience, which is like when he does that, like you stay up at the altar for your processing. And he announces to the room, like, okay, Special's doing. Special's going to have the hot bay experience. Like, if you're able to, I just want you to be aware so you can hold space for her and, be present for this, if you're able to. And so, yeah, I'm up on the altar. And I feel pretty confident with hot bay. I had I had a client who's probably gonna be sharing in his ceremony report about his experience with hot bay that I served him at the end of our ceremony day. That was the only medicine we worked with, the only physical medicine we worked with. But I got to see, how it really finished him off. But that was like a normal dose. So I really, even with all the warnings and, preparation that White Wolf said about the hot bay experience, I really was not prepared for mine. um, and it's funny because, I was kind of afraid of taking another cup of ayahuasca, because I was anticipating the kind of experience I actually had with hot bay. And I just felt so grateful that I did the hot bay instead of the ayahuasca for that to be finished off, for that completion. Um, and I see we're like right here at the end of the time that I've allotted here, but like I my spirit came into my body so hot and so big with just the first side, like, so he starts on my left side. That, I mean, it just like dropped me. I was like on my hand, I was already sitting, but I just like boom, like fell forward, and I just had to focus on this candle, which I could barely do. I kept looking away from it. But I was very clear that, my spirit was like, this is me. You are meant to contain this. Stop carrying this other bullshit or saying that you can't do it. Do it. Do it now. You're doing it. You're doing it. You're doing it. And when I get into those kind of spaces, I often will like be coaching myself out loud. So I was coaching myself with the candle. I was telling myself I can contain this. This is me. I can let go of whatever I'm holding that makes it so that I can't contain myself. And by the time, you know, the intensity, I had kind of gotten a hold of the intensity and I was feeling contained, White Wolf was like, okay, I think it's time for the second side. And I was like, I had this big question. I felt, oh, well, and also in that's when I don't give up on anybody, and giving up, like not giving up looks different than I thought it looked like. Like it can look like giving up on somebody, like specifically with my mother. But that's me not giving up on them, and it's this empowering piece of like, I trust you on your path. Like it's none of my business if you need help. If I'm not explicitly recognized and invited to help you and that feels right in my system. And I got to have that demonstrated for me by White Wolf. But before the second side, I was just like, I'm not sure if my mom's ready for me to do this. And that felt so sincere to me, you guys. I was just like, I really don't know if she can handle this. I don't know if she's ready. And he looked at me and he's like, it doesn't matter. It's not important right now. You just need to do the other side and you're stalling. So I stalled some more. I was like, I know I'm stalling. I'm totally stalling. He's like, the second side is not as hard. It's not as hard. I promise it's not as hard. So I did it, it was finishing me off. I puked a bunch more. Um, had all this processing with that. And then he said, okay, you're complete. It's time for you to go back to your mat. Now, it was just a couple feet away. Like literally, I had a really big a really big mat. It was a small ceremony, so I took up a lot of space. It was really close. And I was like, he's like, and I'm gonna help you. I was like, okay. And so he kind of coached me, okay, let's like have you pivot on your left hip. Cause I was like, I just feel so weak. I feel so tired. I still felt so nauseous. He's like, okay. And he's like coaching me to just turn. Just to turn was like so much. And then I'm there and I asked him to hand me my bucket. I had to puke some more. So I'm just kind of like draped over my bucket. My mat is like a foot away. He's like, you're halfway there. This whole process was so insane. I mean, I was like, I got to one point where it took all my strength. I just reached out and I touched the blanket on it. And I just like had my hand on it. He's like, oh, there you go. Okay. Almost there. And I really I can't explain how I couldn't just crawl or slither over. And he had prepared me for that. He's like, however you get there, you get there. But I had no energy. I couldn't do it. And and then I would puke some more. I had to blow my nose some more because finally after my second side and the processing, I was able to blow the hape out, but there was still some in there. And I would gather the strength to just blow my nose. And yeah, and there are other details. I think I'm going to leave them out for now, but the part I want to get to before I complete is that at one point I said, he's encouraging me, and some other people in the room had said some things, like, you can do it, you're almost there. And I was like, I just want someone to lift me. And White Wolf was like, yeah, I get it, but no, I'm not going to do that. Like, okay. So I finally get onto my mat and, get lots of cheers from everybody, which is really annoying to me. Because like I can be a really impressive person, but like that's not necessarily like it doesn't actually help me sometimes. Like I felt like that during my birth, like everybody cheering me on. It's just like, just shut up. That's how I felt. But I didn't even have the energy to be in that trip. I was just being. It took everything for me to just be. Just be. And so actually at one point his dog Spirit, is a ceremony dog, gets onto my mat, like up at the head of it, which was like a freaking desert away as far as I was concerned. And Wolf started to like get him, be like, hey Spirit, get off our bed. And I was like, no, leave him there, I need goals. I had it set up so he moved my bucket onto my bed, and then the hanky that I wanted to blow my nose into, just like, so I had to like get to those things, and then Spirit was like just beyond those. And so it came to a point where I was on my mat, and I had had counsel with one of the women there about motherhood. I'd asked her if she could come over, and she did. And then she had said, I think you just need to rest, sister. You just need to rest. And so I was just like slumped there, half off my mat, honestly, like my legs splaying across the back. And like my bucket's here, I've got my water bottle, and my hanky. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to shit. And I was just like, fuck. I mean, I want to, but like the bathroom is like so far away. So I asked White Wolf, I'm like, I need to go poop. Like, can you help me to the bathroom? Which is a really common thing to ask for in these ceremonies, by the way. Like it's typical to ask for help and to get it in that way. And he said, it's not that I want to support you, but I think it's going to be an empowering experience for you. And he's like, and you can totally just shit right there. If you want, you don't have to go to the bathroom. And then somebody popped a joke like, it's your blanket. And so I was there just like weighing this. Like, is that what's happening here? Am I going to just shit myself in the middle of the ceremony? It's not the middle, it was toward the end. He was announcing at that time, we had 40 minutes and then we're closing. So I was like so close. So I'm just laying there kind of surprised that I keep not shitting, just thinking about getting up, going through the layers of bitterness that nobody's helping me. But although it wasn't that strong, honestly. I could, because I trust him. I really trust him. And then this gal that's on the same side of the room as me, who before ceremony I'd told her, oh yeah, back when I used to sit in group ceremony, I would puke for other people all the time. I would purge for other people. And she goes, oh, haha, maybe you can purge for me. And I said, absolutely not. So, and she and I had some other matches. And so I'm laying there just impossibly weak. Just there's no way I can't lift a finger. I'm way too weak. And I felt nauseous too, but I didn't feel that I was going to puke. And I felt if I did try to move, I would puke, and that felt really wrong to me. And she starts to purge. She went up and did some hot bay. She didn't do the hot bay experience, but she did some hot bay, and she went back to her mat right away, and she started to purge. And I immediately started feeling lighter, and I felt cold, just this delicious cold, which I had just been so hot, just on fire. I felt this twinkling of my energy in my body. And then I said to White Wolf, I said, I said, thank you, sister, at some point. I was just like, good work. Thank you to her. And when I said, White Wolf, I have one more request I'd like to try. And he's like, sure, what is it? And I said, would you carry my water into the bathroom? He's like, absolutely. So he picks up my water. He walks over to the bathroom. I stand up. Yes, I'm wobbly. Yes, I feel tired, but I am freaking standing and I'm walking and my head is over my shoulders. And he's standing there waiting for me in the bathroom as it took me, I was slower than he was. He just kind of zipped in there and he stood there in the bathroom and he was like, good work. And I was like, thank you for saying no to me. So that's the extent that I'm going to share today. And I just really feel this, the perfection of the way it all is woven together with, this education about masculine and feminine and container holding and, what's my business and what's not my business. And what I think I need help with that, like, just to like really be explicit about what I see happen there at the end is that if he'd helped me, he would have been enabling me in the last vestiges of this pattern of taking on other people's energy and managing it for myself, for them. And, I had somehow attached to what she had to purge, even though I'd said no to her and she was joking. She actually really likes to purge. She was welcoming it. But what was left of that pattern at the time, I was still running it through my system. I could sense some bullshit and I was trying to take it on and move it myself. And it wasn't mine. It wasn't mine to move. And so I was to the point where I've been doing this so long, and with the prayers that I've been having and, my intention for this completion of this pattern, that like my body, I was shown how it literally was not for me to do. Like I literally couldn't do it. And as long as I was in that space of like even unconsciously holding it, not knowing, I wasn't going to be able to do anything else either. Not even get up to shit. and to complete my release, which was insane. Once it happened. So we're 10 minutes over my intended time. I can be here for a little longer if anybody would like to share any just anything at all, if you want to share the impact or any recognitions or matches that you have with my story, then yeah, I'll just stop talking for a little bit and see. And no pressure if you don't feel that. I know it's a lot to take in. light some sage, actually.
Wilde, I think, as that scream showed. Um, I just want to share thank you so much for facilitating and sharing this. I really got a lot from it. Um, and oh, maybe he won't turn back to scream. Um, oh, there was a lot. There was a lot there for me. A lot of little things you shared that my heart needed personally. So I just want to share gratitude and thank you.
Thank you, sister. Thank you so much. I know we have some matches on a lot of this stuff, and I'm really grateful for the work that you're doing over there. All right, love you.
I fucking love you. Thank you for this. I feel so grateful for the foundation building that you did to get to the actual ceremonies, to get to see the whole story, to gather so many little things and huge things along the way, to track it all for myself and see so much that is for me.
Mhm.
I'm so grateful for your initiation and your vulnerability and your honesty. And I am just wide open receiving this initiation through your sharing to see how it changes things for me moving forward. I feel like there's going to be bits that are going to unpack. I feel so grateful that this is recorded. And I feel like this is a recording I'm going to listen to multiple times because there are so many pieces that I know are going to be so huge for me in my life. And I feel like there have been little things that you've shared, but to see it all in one space right now just was so huge, so huge. And just on a personal note, like I'm so grateful for this break and just being able to be here for this and to be reminded and hit and impacted by your fucking power. Thank you.
I just got a picture of like thrusts into the sky, like fucking power.
I love it. I love it. I'm here for it.
Oh, not to
And
all diminish what you just shared and just your energy and presence and with you popping on, I'm like, oh yeah, the manifestors again. Like I don't know what Stephanie.
I was just thinking that. Yeah, Inez was here, Devana, Talia, yep, Stephanie, yep.
Oh yeah, you're a manifester. Okay, okay,
Manifestors
I remember that.
representing. You're a
Ina,
manifestor magnet.
Enos. Yeah. Whew. I feel like Christine. I don't know what the Christine who was here. She might be. I don't know. But yeah, and I have recognition for the manifestors with that because I just, there's this kind of spinning that seems to happen about like what the purpose of a manifestor is these days, and it can be frustrating. It's like, well, they're here to lead things, but not to like be there for it all or whatever, like which is ironic because that's been like the slogan with you, right? It's like I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Um, well, what you're here for, you're here for. But I've been seeing for years now just this, the mechanism of the manifestor aura is and the conscious manifestor is engaging with who and what they are is like so important. Like, we really need you guys, and it's a lot less work than you guys tend to think it is, you know? And yeah, as a projector, I just want you to know, like, I'm here to manage the people. That and to guide the people. You don't have to do that if you're starting to feel like stuck and like, oh fuck, like now because people tend to do that, like you initiate and they're like, okay, now what's next, now what do we do, manifester? And it's like, I don't know. Or maybe you do, but it's like, it might be like, this is what you need to do, but I'm not here for that. So, you can send, look for the projectors in your life who are ready for that. And anyway, that's just,
It's it's
I'm
so
really grateful
delicious.
for you all. And for me, like, I, manifestors have just been a huge, huge part of me being able to like come into who I am. I mean, it was my coach, my manifestor coach, Gary Mahler, who really was the tipping point for me, and being on my aligned fractal for this work, and his recognition of me, and also his nose to me, like him not reading every word that I write, and and telling me some hard truths and letting his anger come through once with me, which is all that it took, and it was just so clean, and it was such a gift. So yeah, thank you.
I wanted to share also, as far as all of us being manifestors, well, especially right now, everybody else on here is a manifester, but that channel of initiation that you have is so powerful. And for me, I can only speak for myself, but it like bzzes me, and it like aligns me so that initiation moves through me. And I've been really feeling into the difference between those kinds of initiation. For us as manifestors, we're here to initiate energy, whereas you and people with that channel are here to initiate like paths, like the journey.
Hmm.
And so there's just such a beautiful way that we can like each receive that from each other because we have that initiation energy. Like you are able to receive the impact of the manifester because you have that shock absorber, and we are built for impact. So we can receive your initiation. And it's just such a beautiful, fucking powerful duo. So yeah,
It
just
really
wanted to
is.
add
Yeah.
that to your reflection on the manifester experience with you. So yeah.
And Nova,
Like
is it okay,
initiation
Saeri? Can I say
into being
great?
an
Oh,
initiator.
Saeri, I just wanted to see, is it okay if I just express my gratitude
Yes,
to you in
please.
this moment? I am like, I actually don't even, I just have tears.
Me too.
That's what I have. My heart is so full of gratitude. And I can feel so much moving. I am stepping into an intense 10-day sweat lodge training in a week and a half. And carrying that, I also have that channel, and coming face to face with my own being. I'm literally so new at the human design thing that I don't even know how to talk about it. I just know it's fucking huge. So I just want to express my gratitude to you for just being willing to be in that space and to invite and give opportunity for us to be here with you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like, I feel so deeply honored to be here.
Mm.
And yeah, I feel that so much. And I just have so much gratitude for it. And
Mm.
yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Seeing that, feeling that is just such a gift. It's so beautiful. Thank you.
Mm. It's an honor and a privilege, and thank you. It's just, I receive. Mm. All right. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, I really just want to, what's it, bookend this with that. Thank you for the work each of you are doing, the work that you do in receiving this story and seeing the parallels and the matches you have in your own life. I had one of my clients was like, "Oh yeah, I totally had diarrhea that same morning." Was I do? I'm like, "Yeah, I think so." You know. I mean, it's probably the parts that I was holding of that client's returning to them for them to work with themselves. And yeah, our bodies are just so holy and they have all of the information for us. They're giving us all the feedback. And so, like, the yucky feelings are just as much of guidance, if not even more, than the good ones. You know, like, the good ones are what give us the strength to face the bad ones and realize that they are a gift. And I mean, imagining, a manifestor with a 2551 channel, like stepping into this, the shamanic work and training and sweat lodge, like, I am just like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you for that. And at the same time, I know, like, you have to. But you could delay it longer. You could try to fight it longer, And those of us on this fractal, we're just like, okay, I'm not going to fight it anymore. I mean, even just like with me sharing in this way, I just got this really gentle, clear guidance to do this in my ceremonies. It was very clear. You need to share this. There's a lot of talk in the ayahuasca circles about, like, oh, not like keeping your visions private for a while. And I'm not knocking that, but I find that it can just become advice and that it can bypass, and I've used it to be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be so eager to share, because in the past, I mean, I've been an open book for a while, really. I mean, at least in the circles I was in. But now it's like, yeah, no, this is my part. This is me returning this to y'all, like, it's not mine. I mean, this breakthrough is literally about me not holding on to what's not mine. I can't lose what's mine. It's certainly not going to let me lose it. It is not. And I wonder what the experience is like for people who don't have this channel. I feel like, in a way, it's like a delegate for everybody's spirit, that it's like, this is actually kind of the nature of who we are. And then we just have varying degrees of, like, feel it's seeming like we can be something other than what we are, But, like, with this heart that, I have, and Stephanie has, and I know Talia has it as well, and Enos, who is here, has it. It's just like it's completely, you only get so long. It's like a ticking bomb if you're trying to be something else. And I'm at the point where it's just like so nuanced that it's down to, like, the smallest of things. And I'm here for it. So thank you for being here. Thank you to everybody who is watching this through, the quantum field. And those who, it's possible to connect with this without watching this video and even knowing me and knowing that this is going on, you know, and that's true for each of us. And I find that this is really important for us practicing reality on earth because like it just gets all mixed up in our fantasies and our visions and our fears and stuff. And so we're practicing the reality of this on. Whoa, I had an experience that night. That's interesting. Was it a transit? Yeah, it was a transit. Was it Saeri and ceremony? Yeah, it was Saeri and ceremony. Was it all of her clients like doing all of their work? Yeah, it totally was, you know. And so it's like when we connect on earth with the reality of it, it can help us. What I think is that it's training us so that we can be returned to our biological technology, you know, that are in this like sci-fi realm of like, you know, telepathy and teleporting and all these and flying, quite frankly. That it's like, but we can't actually access those gifts until we have this clean out and we are able to actually be with what's real. So thank you, each and every one of you. Um, we'll be, I think I'm going to be having a call next week as well. If you're here, you're on my list, my email list. I guess if you got it, if you got the registration link through one of my clients, just be sure to ask them how to get on my mailing list. You can just go to innergoing.com. It's on the first page. It's how you can opt in to get on the list to know when and where and how to join into these calls. We have Nova on the calendar on September 9th for her ceremony report. Oh my God, I can't wait. And yeah, like feel free, like I said, to reach out to me. My door is open for any reason. And I love you. And happy bon weekend.
Let's see.
Bye.